The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the complete. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Silverstone held the very first race of the modern F1 championship. It already solidified itself in racing lore with that event alone, but then it went on to host a variety of types of racing for 70 years, establishing itself as a cornerstone of British motorsport. Today it hosts the AMG series as it begins to slip into the final rounds of Season 5. Will any of our championship battles take an unexpected twist? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 10 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight are Soup and Crackers. Bill Soup Zahn covering the prototype and GT1 classes, and Sean Crackers Ambrose covering the GT3 class. Sean, Silverstone is a staple for any major international road racing series. Tell us about this classic track.
Joe, you know, Silverstone it's kind of funny. It's actually located in two different places, two neighboring communities, Northamptonshire and Buckinghamshire, England. And they border each other, so it basically splits the track almost in half. It's not a war between countries or anything, but it does make it unique in that respect. This track, though, been around for a very, very long time. They opened this circuit, many years ago, and on September 30th of 2004, the British Racing Drivers Club President Jackie Stewart announced that the British Grand Prix would not be included in 2005, and that was a shame. But today, we get to run this circuit out, 3.142 miles, the classic layout here, 5.057 kilometers, 16 turns, in this 60-minute race today. But the best way to get a look at this track is from the seat of the GSRC Hot Ride of the Day.
All right, we've got Robbie Morrison in the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Silverstone. Coming down to Copse, the first corner is a quick right-hander. There's lots of paved runoff on the outside, but make sure you don't lose grip on that AstroTurf. Get loose and it can be easy to skitter off into the inside barrier. From there, you'll switch right to set up for the Maggots-Beckett sequence. Each corner is going to tighten up, slowing the car as you go. The main thing here is to sacrifice your exit for a better entry into the next corner up until the last right-hander. Ultimately, you're aiming to really be on the power early and get the right pedal flat to the floor through Chapel. Every ounce of speed you give yourself will be time in your pocket. That now dumps us onto the hanger straight, which will probably be your best chance for a pass. Really use the draft to get alongside your opponent because unfortunately, it's not a heavy braking zone at the end of this stretch. By now, we've come to Stowe, which has a slight rise, making the apex both difficult to spot and hit. As you exit, here's where the historical layout is different from the normal GP circuit. Vale is a fast and gentle bend into club instead of a chicane, meaning precision will be even more critical. Once again, perfecting the exit will be a lot more important because we're hitting another very fast section of the track. Instead of the Abbey chicane, we take the old route around the flat-out Abbey kink. Hold left though, because after this dip, you'll have to nail the high-speed bridge corner. Sadly, there's no time to relax because you've got to hold tight to the right for the line into Priory. A sneaky driver could make a pass into any of these last set of technical corners. Despite the low speeds, surprise overtakes are not uncommon, so keep your guard up. From Brooklands, we set the car up for Luffield. Try to get that rear end to rotate and point the nose in the right direction so that we can blast towards the start-finish line. Hopefully, you weren't on the gas too early so you don't ruin your exit speed. But from here, it's flat out through Woodcote, drift to the left, and complete your lap around Silverstone. Robbie Morrison and the GSRC BMW out there running a lap on the historic layout. And speaking of history, they're still building the history of Season 5 as we speak. So to get us up to speed on where we stand on that, let's go to Bill Zahn.
Yeah, now, going into Le Mans, most every race was still in question. And then with that race in France, with that internet bug that we had where that was canceled and basically everything just washed out, all those questions gets pushed over here to Silverstone. And one more round closer to the end of the season. Let's start by looking at the prototype championships. The top three drivers on the chart all finished on the podium last points race, which was back at Imola. Robert Tinsley got his first win of the season. That was a long time coming. The Talon Motorsports driver inches closer to the lead, now just 6 points back. Jason Gerard of Itosha Motorsports bested John Ulmer of Autobahn Motorsports West by a single point, separating the two at the top by that same margin. And when the conditions are right, Clan OADnet's Alex Simonik, who is now 41 points back in fourth, has the speed now to race with some of the top three guys. So keep an eye on him. Daniel Gralti is 54 back and rounds out the overlay. Moving to the GT1s, Wojciech Sirodowicz has cooled off a bit. He's winless in his last three events, but he's still 20 points in the lead. Three drivers are within striking distance, but one of those, Paul Oh My Darling, switched over to the GT3 class at Le Mans, so Swirly's biggest competition might come from last season's champion, Stephen McGarvey of TMC Carbon, and Billy Smith II of Autobahn Motorsports West. The Imola winner, Troy Schuster, sits in fifth, 49 points out. Let's go to the GT3s. With each round, rookie Laura Costa gains more experience and more confidence. With 2 wins in his last 2 races, his lead has stretched to 18 points. Rainier Racing's Bradley Haley is doing his best to catch Costa, but he'll need to pick it up a bit with only this and 4 more races remaining on the schedule. A win at Mossport and a second at Imola helped TMC Crimson's Dave Hill stay in the hunt. 24 back of Costa, only 6 behind Haley. Coming into form of late has been Autobahn's East Sheldon Rosenblum in fourth, with Robert Jackman returning to the overlay for TMC Carbon. Now, let's look at the team championship. 21 points separate Talon, Autobahn West, and TMC Carbon. Take into account that Talon has earned 454 points, and you can understand how insignificant a 24-point deficit really is. The battle could very well hinge on the production of the third-place drivers for each team. Keep an eye on Talon's number 3 driver, that's Jim McGinnis, who contributed 138 points. For Autobahn West, the GT3 driver, David Tejeda, has chipped in 88 points. And for the TMC Carbon guys, it's the prototype driver, Tim McLeish, who has contributed 94 points. SRN Motorsports sits in fourth, and Itosha rounds out the overlay. Now, those are the points. Let's talk about the race details and what these drivers are really having to deal with today. And for that, we're going to throw you over to Stephen Parks. Stephen, welcome to the broadcast.
Thanks, guys. And tonight we will have 3 different classes, the prototypes, the GT1s, and the GT3s. It will be a 60-minute race, so these guys will be battling out hard for an hour's time, and these guys do have an open setup, so these guys are able to get those setups fine-tuned and get ready to race here tonight. They do have a limited fuel limit, so they will be able to pit at least once here tonight. They do have 1 fast repair as well, and 24 is the incident limit, and then they will get the boot. We do have some track temp here tonight, 66 for the weather, 75 for the track temp, and we do have a 9 to 11 mile per hour wind gusting out of the west to southwest.
So it sounds like fairly cool conditions out there, but potentially difficult if the wind is gusting and changing at any point during the race. Thanks for that, Stephen. Welcome to the broadcast. Looking forward to your updates in the pits out there today. Now, Sean, this place, they're running the historic layout, which we've mentioned, as we see David Tejada get it wrong through cops, it looks like, which means that it sounds like the passing zones are going to be a little bit fewer. Where do you expect them to maybe attempt passes, at least within class?
Okay, within class, I think you've really got to look at the back part of the course when you get through out of club, into Abbey, up to Bridge. It's really, I think that's where the course really starts to change a little bit. And then that trip out of Brooklyn's right there, you might be able to get a good run on somebody, but the grip's so important out of there to make that run up to the front straightaway, which is a great drafting opportunity down into cops. And I really think that's where we'll see most of that action today. It really, Maggots and Beckett's can be very, very tricky. You've got to hit those. You've got to get the line just perfect in those S's. You want to get right up on the curb and right back across to the track to the next one, and not many opportunities to pass through there. It could end your race. But the hanger straight down into Stowe. The only problem with getting into Stowe is you've got to really you gotta slow that car down and not. There's plenty of room to run off to the left, but if you're jockeying for position, you don't want to be on the outside and wind up getting the boot out into the pasture there.
Indeed. And Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about why they might choose the historic version? Because we keep saying that there might be fewer passing opportunities. So what would the reasoning be for the league to elect to use this one?
Oh, this track has such better flow to it than the version that we use now. In fact, Joe, I'd be hard-pressed to think of a track that has actually been improved by modern safety concerns. This one, it is fast, it has nice flow to it, and I think, because they've opened it up, they've taken out some of the twisty sections, I think when it comes to interclass passing, I think it's going to make it a lot easier. There's a lot of open spots here. I think some of those faster HPDs are going to be able to open up, get around a lot easier. I'm so happy that we're here. Fun to watch, fun to drive.
I agree. Definitely something a little bit more interesting without some of the slow chicanes that they've since included. Now, one thing that we should address if you're just joining us this time and you missed the last round, well, they did not score any points for Le Mans. There was a bug that occurred in iRacing that removed some drivers, unfortunately, in the middle of the race, which would put them on the back foot, which the drivers felt was not fair to them since it was out of their control, and they've all elected not to award points for that race. Now, they are still deciding whether or not they are going to hold a replacement race or not, if it'll be at Le Mans or if it'll be a different track, or if they're just going to write it off and call it a 13-race season instead of 14 races. We will keep you up to date when we hear official word from the organizers on that decision.
Can I have a vote? I vote not to go back to France again.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best case on this one. Now, looking at what we're going to be facing in the classes today, we've got 2.5 minutes left here of last chance qualifying as drivers try to put their times in. There we see Mama Jean Racing's Dino Topic out on track. Let's go over some of the points, some of the talking points for this race. Let's start with the prototypes, actually. Bill, the top fight between Gerard Ulmer and Tinsley, 5 points.
Yeah,
5 points.
It is so weird. First of all, those are our veterans, Gerard Ulmer and Tinsley, really close together. But then you have the fly in the ointment. You have Benefield, who can race with all those guys. And then I talked about it when I was going over the points. Alex Simonik all of a sudden has the pace. We have 5 guys that could win this today.
I'm checking through to see if Benefield has showed up, and it doesn't look like he's going to be here today, which is sad to see. Since he's been, like you said, just throwing such a wrench in it.
He's a part-timer, and if he was full-time, he'd be in the championship hunt.
Undoubtedly. Let's jump over to Sean for the GT3s, though. Lauro Costa, can anything stop him? The Brazilian he's gotten first and second every single race he's shown up.
Yeah, it's just been a flood of podium appearances for Costa, and you know what? It's going to be hard to topple that. He has been awful good. He's looking... Can we say unstoppable? Now Haley has speed. He's got speed tonight. Bradley at the top of the provisional pole in the GT3 class right now. Can Haley sneak in a win here this evening? Get himself fighting with Lauro Costa and maybe show that somebody else is worthy of this championship. But Haley, again, good speed here so far at Silverstone. Can he crack Costa's strategy? That we'll have to watch that this evening. Hill's performance is on the upswing. Has had some really, really strong drives. I'll be honest with you, he looks to be a little off on speed here at Silverstone tonight. Honestly, Joe, I heard some of the guys talking before the race. There's a few guys that have maybe missed a little bit of practice time getting ready for Le Mans that we had this weekend, and there were some ideas being even traded about setup right before the race. Like I said, maybe not everybody quite prepped where they need to be for this one. Hill being down on speed, that could be an indicator of maybe a little bit less prep than needed for a circuit like Silverstone.
Indeed, and I agree with you. I think we saw a number of drivers in the lead-up really fail to put in the amount of time they tend to do in these races, and I think that could affect the quality of some of our regular top contenders. Could see some unusual mistakes. On the GT1 side of things, Bill, we've seen the main contender, I think, for the championship be Swirly. He's obviously leading in the points, but what about McGarvey? Can he come back? Can he come back to form like he had last season?
Oh, I think so. There's a couple key points there. Unlike Sean's in the GT3, where Costa is a rookie, he just seems to be crushing it. Svidardovich is not. He's not immune to making a mistake, and he can come up with a bad result here. There are drop races, but he still easily could finish outside the top 10. McGarvey, very fast. Also, Billy Smith has a chance to do it. And the other thing we talked about, Sean, some guy you want to watch out for is Paul Oh My Darling. He raced in the GT1s. He's given up on that. He's a privateer. He's going to be down there in the GT3s. Not a great qualifier, but watch out for him when it gets time for racing. So, yeah, Joe, just to follow up on your question, absolutely, don't count. Stevens the defending champion, so certainly he can get this thing back. Plenty of time, especially if they add on one more race at the end of the season.
Won't that be interesting? Now, the checkered flag is out, so the clock is now counting down for the drivers to finish their hot laps. If you're wondering what we mean by last chance qualifying in the Autobahn series, they split up the qualifying into each class. Each class gets 15 minutes out there separately, HPDs, GT1s, and GT3s. Anybody who can't make the time allotted to their class are allowed to come out and put in a lap here in the last chance qualifying if real life keeps them away, or they could elect to just qualify in this portion. However, they cannot go out and put a lap in here in the last chance qualifying if they have put the car out on track at all in their allotted qualifying, so that they can't game the system and be able to get more qualifying laps than anybody else. Now, one of the reasons that it's a risk to being out here in the last chance is, of course, it is mixed class out there and more likely to get interrupted. But with it being over, looks like the grid has now been settled, so let's go through our order on the prototypes. Robert Tinsey has put it on the pole and has even bested Jason Gerard by a whole 3/10 this time around. Wonder if that is an omen of Tinsey really being able to take this one home, but it's a long race to go. Gerard in second, Simonik with a nice third place. Yes, exactly. Has found his speed once again with John Ulmer starting in fourth. He always says he struggles on the European tracks. It looks like that might be the case once again. Mark Wilson is going to be in row 3 and fifth, with Dino Topic starting in sixth place. Seventh will be Sean Reese, followed by Ryan Bird starting in the 8th position. Then you have Lionel Duprat starting in 9th, and Tim McLeish rounding out our top 10, Bill.
And then you got your top two in the point standings. Wojciech Svidardovich up in 11th position. Stephen McGarvey next to him in 12th. Keep an eye on that. McGarvey needs to finish in front of Swirly to close the gap. Brandon Postma and Ryan Huff are in the next row. Leif Peterson, and look at this, Billy Smith way back, qualifying in 6th position. He is about 0.8 of a second off the pack. You know, with the draft, I think that's probably close enough to stay in the hunt. Kevin Santana, Troy Schultz, there's a new name for us. Matthew Epstein, Paul Lindsay, David Sockrider, and Matt Owens round out the GT1. Sean, who you got on the pole there in GT3s?
All right, let's do it. Benjamin Haxon with the big time there to take the pole. Bradley Haley going to be second there. Laurel Costa, not quite enough speed to take the pole this week. He'll start third. Paul Darling will start fourth. Nice qualifying effort for him. Scott McGravy, he is going to qualify there in fifth. Jeffrey Ohms in sixth. Patrick Fleming, seventh here in the GT3s. And Sheldon Rossenbaum in eighth. Then we'll go to Armando Edwards starting ninth. Michael Reedy starting 10th. Robert Jackman 11th. Jim McInnes 12th. Dave Hill 13th. Robert Sklenka 14th. Mark Kedrowski 15th. And David Tejada going to start 16th. Christopher Sherburne 17th. And the HPD of Chris Pence going to start actually here at the back of the field.
And Pence and Buafia, you saw there on the graphic, will start from the pit lane as per the rules here in the Autobahn series. They will be allowed to exit the pit lane before the slower classes get to them, but they will be essentially starting at the back of their class. So as they roll off, working their way around the pace lap, just a quick update. Some of the drivers in the midfield, obviously, are worth mentioning as well because they have an AM championship in this series that they keep track of. That is for drivers below a certain I rating can compete for that. Tim McLeish is leading the AM Championship in the prototypes. Kevin Santana leads the GT1 AM Championship, and I made a mistake in the last broadcast. He has not led the GT3 Championship, although he has competed in both this season. And then Christopher Sherburne is leading the AM Championship for the GT3 cars. Bill, you know what's next. Mr. Betting Man himself. Who's your pick today?
Well, I've been propping him up the whole race. Let's change it up a little bit. Let's go with Alex Simonik. He finished ahead of Ulmer. Let's see if he can sneak one in there. He certainly do. We get down to the GT1 guys. I think Stephen McGarvey, defending champion, I think he probably got a win coming his way here. Nice open track drafting. I think I like that. Sean, who you like down there in your GT3s?
You know what? Don't count Bradley Haley out of this one, but Laurel Costa's been awful hot, and I've got to be a fool to go against that. Give me him.
And
Yeah,
John,
I think that's a safe bet.
I just want to follow up. I talked about some of the drivers, the number 3 drivers for the team championship. They're all here today. I talked about Tim McLeish. Well, he's qualified. He's the last prototype. And, of course, he's racing for Team Carbon down there. And then you have the 2 GT3 drivers we'll keep an eye on. They're way down the list as well. And that is McGuinness is here, and so is Tejeda. So they're both here. Those guys, how that third driver scores could determine who wins the team championship.
Everybody is important on your team in the Autobahn series. I love the way they do that, Bill, with the putting everybody in a different class. It's so different than the way most other series run teams.
And there's an incident cap, so you can't load up drivers, so you have to stay under a cap. It's really cool, and it makes that number 3 driver, which is me on any team. It gives them a reason to race. If they can chip in, score 4 or 5 points, hey, I'm helping my team.
Absolutely. You want those consistent lower I rating drivers to be able to, like you said, just rifle in those points week after week. So as they come through Bridge into Priory, one of those tricky braking zones that the drivers might have a potential to pass in, we get into the technical final portion of the circuit. Pace car starting to edge away as Tinsey is going to be leading the field. They come around Brooklands now. Then Luffield and Woodcote to go. We see those GT1s just peek into the screen as the HPDs are going to take the green flag first. A split field start for these guys. Past the pit entry lane. Pace car is now peeled off, and Tinsey does not wait at all. He gets a good jump over Gerard. In fact, Gerard having to struggle with Simonik to his inside. Could he lose second position down into Copse as they get to the corner? Very little braking in these high downforce HPDs. They come close together. Simonik loses the position or the momentum, and Gerard stays in second. Let's go to the GT1s.
Quick start for the GT1s. Witovich out in front. McGarvey and Postma, they drop in pretty much in the order that they qualified. And then it's Huff and Smith has made a great run up a few spots. Sean, what do you got in GT3s?
Haxon out of Woodcote on the hammer, down into 1. He's got it. In the Cops they go. Here comes Costa, and he's off. Costa all the way off the track. Bradley Haley manages to avoid him. Jeffrey Ohms in third, but Costa having a very, very serious off there to start this race.
Sends him all the way to very last place in the GT3 class. That's going to make it very difficult to continue his streak in first and second, which, by the way, he still continued that streak even in the non-points paying race of Le Mans. He's going to have to work on David Tejada first there at the back of the field. We're not missing anything up at the front of the prototypes as they've split apart about a second each between them, first through fourth.
Well, Joe, up front, Haxon has really got away here, almost a second and a half. Got off to, like I said, a really, really good jump on the start, and he's made it stick here. They're getting through Club now on their way to Abbey. And Bradley Haley giving chase. Jeffrey Ohms, the Canada driver, not far behind. Here comes Paul Darling up a spot already.
And the closest battle for the lead of the 3 classes right now seems to be the GT1s with Stephen McGarvey within half a second of Sviatovic, Bill. He's dropped back just a little bit. He was only 4/10 back a moment ago, but he is clinging on.
McGarvey behind him flashed at his lights. I'm not sure what that means. It's not letting him around. Yeah, I think I may have the class here of excitement. This one, the GT1s look really competitive. I got to give a shout out to Billy Smith. He had a great start. He's worked his way up to 5th.
Now, it looks like Kiradine Wafia may have not gotten out until after the GT3 cars, as he is just getting by the car of David Tejada back there, which Lauro Costa has now overtaken, is now working on Christopher Sherburne and his Ford GT.
Ooh, and Sherburne off. Ooh, that was wicked. Sherburne hangs on to it.
Oh, and already some problems for Ulmer, sends him to the back of the prototypes. Let's see what happened. Was this in Vale, it looks like? Yes, it was. That was unusual. Looks like, I don't think he touched the grass or anything, just the rear started to come around on him.
Boy, not only does he not do well when he leaves North America, he does horribly when he leaves North America.
And he did make serious contact with that tire barrier. He did get the car going. That's, even for Ulmer, that seemed very un-Ulmer-like, Bill.
Yeah.
Second lap of the race, I should say, and a driver error.
Yeah, that's now they are fast repair, so he can come in and get that taken care of. But he's going to have to make an extra stop. That's pretty much going to end any chance of a good finish. Although, Joe, we've seen him run through the field before.
Absolutely, but he's going to have to run through not just his field, but the other classes now as they streak on by with it being so early in the race. So, looking back through to see where our closest fight is, actually up in the prototypes, let's give a little love to Mark Wilson in 6. He's fighting with Sean Reese, and just behind him, look at that, how close they are in the mid-pack. It is tight up here.
Right, and the last driver in that train, again, I hate to harp on the team championship, that's Tim McLeish racing in 9th. He's already picked up one spot because of Ulmer's mistake. Nice 5-car battle. Reese, Wilson, Bird, Duprat, and then McLeish.
Well, we saw Ulmer head into the pits. Let's go to Stephen Parks. Did he take his free repair?
Yes, he went into his pit stall, didn't miss it, actually hit it pretty good, and used his fast repair.
All right, so it looks like if he makes any more mistakes, he's going to be SOL from here on out. He's already trying to work his way through. The GT1s is in front of him. Let's see who is that. Actually, that's Matt Owens. He sneaks by as he comes through Abbey Corner, which is actually a corner instead of a chicane in this layout.
Does that mean he has to start offline? SOL?
Yes,
I'm sorry.
exactly.
Okay.
That's what it means. That's what it stands for.
Thanks, Sean.
Hey, really, really good battle going back here between Paul Darling and Jeffrey Ohms. Ohms got around Darling, and then Darling, within about 500 yards, decided, you know what, I want that spot back. Darling back up to 3rd in the GTEs, and Jeffrey, the Canadian driver, hot on his tail as they head through Brooklands and now make their way over to Luffield. It's time to complete another lap. 3 laps in the book for the GTEs.
Just behind him, Jeffrey Ooms, who is a bit of a newcomer here in the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. We haven't given him a whole lot of love, but he's looking pretty handy right now, sitting in 4th in his class in that Mercedes. Looking back a little bit farther to Fleming, who has put on some good performances in recent races, trying to see if he can get in the top 5 with Scott McGarvey just ahead of him.
Yeah, and McGarvey, the only Ford up here in the top 5. The Mercs have the power right now, but we've got a couple other Fords back through the field starting to make their way up into the Mercedes traffic. So they're working hard out there, and Buafia is still making his way here through the GT3 traffic. He just gets by Michael Reedy there and is now setting up Robert Jackman for a move around him, getting that C6 Corvette on the power. Tough spot to get it done.
Slow going for him. Now we might have something that's happened to McLeish. Let's see.
Oh, McLeish. He was at the back of that train. He was getting up on the back of Duprat.
Ooh, big spin. And I'm sure he is grateful for the paved runoff there on the outside of Copse.
That was a great battle. We documented it early, though, that 5-car battle. Now it's a 4-car train. He was back at the very back. He was made a couple stabs at Duprat. Couldn't get it done, and then I think he got a little too aggressive there.
Still close there, but in GT1, P3, the podium spot up for grabs is Brandon Postma trying to hold off Ryan Huff. Less than half a second behind him. They're going to get interrupted in a moment because John Ulmer's trying to work his way through these GT1 cars.
Yeah, Ulmer just got around Billy Smith. Huff has been pestering Postma as well. They're racing in the order. Now let's see what happens as Ulmer gets around. Oh!
And remember, these cars are not getting blue flags with Ulmer coming up behind them right now. And now he finally is able to get some momentum coming off of Club and works his way by, interrupts them just momentarily. He'll get him just before Bridge. Oh, and I think maybe he got in the way just a little bit of Brandon Postma.
Sure.
Look how close Ryan Huff has gotten down into Priory. If they start battling, this could bring Billy Smith into the fight for the podium as well.
Now, another thing that we have to watch is look at this battle for P2. This is Simonic has been coming, and he's going to get him on the outside. That's Gerard. Simonic made the run on the inside. He got pinned in behind Costa.
Split him on both sides, managed to get around him and didn't even interrupt things because look at this. He hasn't lost an inch on Gerard, still hassling him as they try to work their way through these GT3s. Momentum halted just a little bit. They're going to go on both sides of the car of Jim McInnes. Both managed to come around the outside. This is tight stuff, Bill.
Absolutely. Simonic was running him down in clean traffic, and then when they got into traffic, he closed right up on him. Now look at this going up in front of him. That's Jackman. There's a log jam in front.
Yeah.
Rosenblum in that blue car. Sean, my goodness, get you guys out of the way.
Are they going to go 4 wide? They're both held up. They can't find a way around. Gerard's trying to go around the outside. He's almost into the grass. Around Rosenbaum finally sneaks through. Simonic is going to follow through, but he can't quite make it past the car of Armando Edwards. Goes way out to the paved runoff of Cops, and now they're finally through.
I'm glad you guys had that. I was speechless. I'm just holding my breath, guys. Jackman and Rosenbaum really suffering the brunt of that. Edwards is up there having fun watching it all in his mirror, and then they finally get around him.
Oh, hang on. Simonic making the move now. Here you go.
Caught the draft down onto Hanger straight, looks around the outside. They've got a GT3 car again up in front of them. It's GT1, Scott McGarvey. No, it's GT3, excuse me. They're able to sneak inside of him. Oh,
there he goes.
Simonic almost loses it, just getting out into the grass, catches it before it gets to the wall, but that cost him a ton of time on the driver of Jason Gerard.
Gerard playing chess out there, trying to pin Simonic back. There was no room for him to go as they got into the slower car. And he didn't jump. I don't think he touched anything. I think the car is relatively in good shape. Let's see if he can run him down now.
Yeah, that was all Simonic, just drifting that little bit wide. And our director was talking about how great of a save. I concur. That was beautiful handwork by Simonic.
I'm impressed at the pace of the HPDs right now and how quickly they caught this GT3 traffic. And it has really just made a mess out here on track.
Normally we like to hop on board our leader as they work their way through GT3. We haven't even had time for that. That battle was so intense for second place. There's our leader, Tinsey, who's now got a gap of about 5 seconds after all that melee through the GT3 cars.
Yeah, finally Jason Gerard catches up and gets to our leader in the GT3 class, and that's still Benjamin Hacks. And
Robert Slinka just looped it around, cartwheeling it down. It looks like it looks like the main straight.
See if we can get a replay here. Flying Snail Racing's driver having some problems very early on, lap 8. Woo! Just off into the grass, and there was no grip on the green stuff, sent him into the pit wall on the inside.
Good news, traffic was kind. There was not in a crowd, everyone able to get around.
There's our leader in the GT1s, Vocek, still leading the way, this time about 3 seconds between himself and McGarvey. So since the start of the race, he's been able to streak away just a little bit. This is a 60-minute race, as a reminder, so 12 minutes in, we're not even halfway there. There you can see Brandon Postma in third, also giving chase, but he's got Ryan Huff not too far behind.
And then right behind them, Billy Smith was able to make up some time. He's closed in on him. Remember, he's already made up one spot. Traffic has helped him, but he has the pace. Smith, the only guy out there racing in the Corvette. Well, Leif Peterson is in it, and so is, I guess, Wapia. But the top 4 guys in front of him are all in Aston Martins.
Oh, and more problems for Tim McLeish. This looks like it happened in Abbey as he was working his way through some GT3 traffic. Now, how did this happen? Oh, it lost it, apparently. Now, he didn't hit anything that hard, but he did cause a bit of a scare. You're going to see for the GT3 cars around him. working to the inside. The rear of his HPD starts to come around. That sent him into the grass. Didn't touch anything until he just pulled it off the track and maybe skittered across the tire barrier a bit.
Okay, now go up to McGuinness. That happened right in front of McGuinness, and then McGuinness just got together with Costa.
Oh,
and they are in the wall.
We're trying to find the replay. This happened
About,
let's see, on the
maybe
front stretch?
12 seconds after what we just saw there, if we can find it. There it is. Wow, we got it.
Yeah, McInnes just went off track. You're going to see coming through Woodcote, and Costa was the wrong place, the wrong time. I think it's fair to say that Costa absolutely will not be getting a first or a second place. Wow, who was that car just sneaking by the car of either Costa or McInnes? I think it was Costa. That was Mark Kudrowski sneaking through by the skin of his teeth.
Guys, Sean Reese just got tipped by Mark Wilson as they were trying to get by our leader in the GT3s, Benjamin Haxon.
Replay button is getting abused tonight.
Yeah.
We've watched Sean Reese coming through Brooklands, loops it around. Now, I did not expect that the HPDs to be having such handling problems. I didn't think it's that low downforce of course.
They had to get on the brakes because, as I said, our GTE3 leader, Benjamin Hackman, was right in front of them, and they just had to get off the power and lock the brakes up, and that causes that little tipping around. But Haxon still hanging on to the lead up here in the GT3s. He's now up just over a second on Bradley Haley. Haley had to deal with a lot of traffic, got back to as far back as almost 2 seconds, has closed the gap back down. He's chasing.
Stephen, what you got to report on two of those drivers that were involved?
Yeah, McEllish and Costa have taken their cars to the garage, must have had too much damage to get back out there. And I just saw that Sean Reese also used his fast repair.
Meanwhile, we're watching the replay of Matthew Epstein spinning out on his own. I guess that would be the Biscuit Monster car today.
Biscuits.
He's able to get it going once again. Mark Kudrowski also had a self-spin. We don't need to go back and watch that. But a number of drivers really running into problems. I really, Sean, I did not expect to see this many errors, even with the lack of practice maybe some have had after Le Mans.
Well, hey, listen, Joe, as many times we see it in these races, preparation is everything. And, you know, sometimes you just miss the mark a little bit. This is a very tough circuit. I'm not particularly good at it, and let's face it, practice makes permanent. And well, it seems like that may be the biggest factor. I think maybe, you know, this is rough making it here tonight after a long weekend for several of these drivers. We saw several of these drivers as we were racing this weekend. So, you know, sometimes a little lack of focus can go a long way to not having a good night.
Meanwhile, that battle for the podium in the GT1's very much right on board with Brandon Postma, looking back at Ryan Huff, who has been hounding him for that third spot. And we talked about it before. Billy Smith is still just back there in the picture. You can see as they come through Cops, swinging through this fast corner one more time. Both of them about dead even on exit.
This is the first time in a long time that Huff has had a clear opportunity without the HPDs getting in the way for him to try to get through here. So he's clearly faster.
Well, right as you say that, Bill, we've got Robert Tinsey coming up on him already. So spoke too soon, I think. It's by Billy Smith.
Tinsey has left the rest of the guys behind.
Got 7 seconds the gap there for the HPD leader to second place. He can stand to wait just a little bit if he wants to, and he does, even though he has to lift just a little bit, but he is going to get in the way somewhat as he sneaks through the inside of Vale. That's going to put the car of Huff offline, sends him backwards just a little bit, goes by his teammate in the form of Brandon Postma around the outside of Club, and he's through.
We'll want to come back to this one in a minute. It's not going to be quite so easy when the next two guys get here in the HPDs, and I'm talking about Girard and Simonik. Because sure enough, Simonik, remember, he had that awful. He's ran down Girard again. In fact, Girard working his way around Leif Peterson right now. Simonik trying to find his way in there too.
My goodness.
Simonik is really pushing the envelope of the track boundaries here. He is using sand and AstroTurf, grass, anything to get around the car.
Meanwhile, we've got another battle in the GT1s. Epstein on Sock Rider. After he made that mistake, he's trying to make up ground. This is for 9th position as he's closed in. Hard to pass here through the technical final portion of Silverstone. Around Luffield they go, out of the corner. Got to be careful getting the power down as they come through Woodcote. And you can see it looks like Sock Rider just that little bit better with finding the grip out of the corner. Good run off of Copse from Matthew Epstein as he closes in. We ride on board just over the hood. Now through Maggots and Beckett's, looking very strong into the braking of this series of S's. Can he get anything off the corner maybe? Oh, and it sounds like second place has heated up once again because Gerard has been caught by Simonik.
We talked about it. They worked through Postma and Huff.
Traffic just playing havoc with these two once again. It did before. They've got David Tejada up ahead, and they're going to catch him at just the wrong moment. Whoa!
Oh.
Wow! I'm not sure if David Tejada saw that movement coming or just he was lucky he didn't turn in anymore. That was so last second, and they both snuck through.
And that's where Sean, you're a GT3 driver, and a prototype comes up on you and say, "Oh man, be a little patient." But they don't.
Yeah.
They're not in the head of Simonik, who is just furious right now trying to get around the guy.
Yeah, well, and that happens. We actually saw it happen at Le Mans. The HPD's trying to pass the GTE cars. It's the closing rate is so. They're a much faster car. Okay, so. Maybe you, as a GT3 driver, you'd like them to, like you said, maybe be a little more patient. They don't always have to make that move, but tell that to a racer that you need to slow down. It generally never works.
And Joe, you saw what just happened there.
Yeah, I
Simonik,
did.
yeah.
The New York driver got a very lucky break because Stephen McGarvey was just in the wrong place at the wrong time for Simonik coming into Maggots and Beckett's, and that gap went from about 0.2 to 2 seconds.
Right.
So he's got to do that work all over again. Meanwhile, 5th position, Ryan Bird being hounded by Mark Wilson. They're coming down to Stowe once again. They're going to sneak to the inside of David Sock Rider. Wow, drifting a little bit wide for Ryan Bird, but he manages to hold onto it. And unfortunately, Mark Wilson not able to take advantage.
This is that 5-car battle that we saw earlier that involved Wilson, Bird, Duprat, and then Reese and also McLeish. Well, Reese and McLeish have had issues, so now it's down to 3, and they've dropped Duprat a little bit.
Meanwhile, we haven't checked in on the GT3s in a while. Sean, what's the story over there?
Well, the story is Benjamin Haxon, try as he might, can't shake Bradley Haley, who has done nothing but pick up time every time he gets a little bit of time to run just behind him without any traffic coming through. Haley's done nothing but pick it up. And right now, he does have the best lap. Haley has the best lap of the race in the GT3s. And again, he is closing. He's picking up steadily, just a little bit every lap. And I've seen him outbrake Haxon just a few times. That's helped. Paul Darling, unfortunately, keeps dropping just a little bit at a time. Real hard to pick up these guys. The biggest thing, Joe, has been working with the traffic. The GT3s have really been slowed down every time the traffic has come through, and it's caused a bit of a logjam. There's been some scary moments, but for the most part, we've had a pretty clean race in the GT3s. The field has really, really spread out. I do show that Jim McInnes actually did make it back out on the track. Mark Kedrowski just came in for a pit stop. Don't know if he went off. That could be a scheduled pit stop. We're now 12 laps into this race. I would say the window at this point is probably open, beginning to open. Mark making his way out, so that might have been scheduled. David Tejada is now in the pit, so I think we're starting to see that window open for pit stops here in the GT3s, Joe.
Now, Sean, I know you've been on the box for a GT3 race here at Silverstone, the regular version. I don't know if it differs as much here in the historic version, but Could Haley be maybe trying to stay in the draft and use that fuel-wise? Is he maybe taking a page from Lauro Costa's book and thinking strategy here?
I absolutely think that's what he's doing, yes. And with tires not really being a huge factor, because they won't change him here in this 60-minute race, the best thing to do is try and save a little bit of fuel, study your opponent, and beat him in the pits if you can. Honestly, Joe, if you could save a little bit of fuel, that's a little bit less you have to take. Any advantage right now Haley can get on Haxon will get him ahead of him, because Haley's right on pace with him, and most of his laps are better. So it's really just a matter of being perfect, pinpoint perfect on that pit stop when he comes in. And like I said, with a little bit less fuel, he can get out, he can beat him there in the pit.
We're right on board with Wojciech Sviatovic as he works his way through the GT3 traffic. He's been unchallenged since the drop of the green, besides maybe just a little bit of pressure from behind in the first couple laps from the car of Stephen McGarvey. And speaking of these GT1s, one thing I've been keeping an eye on, Bill, is Ryan Huff here. If I had to describe this battle, I would just say pressure cooker.
Yeah, he is. It's not like he's just sitting back there riding. He is poking and pushing. And now he's got some slow cars. He's got the Ford of Dave Hill in front of him. This might be an opportunity for him.
Not just Hill, but also the car of Michael Reedy and Sheldon Rosenbaum just ahead of them. But they're not going to catch him by the time they get to Copse here. Now coming out of the corner might be a clear slot as Rosenbaum goes a little bit off. They might go 3 wide. No dramas, though, as they're able to sneak through both of the GT1 cars, try to outbrake them into the corner, and that's going to check things up behind them, as now we've got 4 GT3 cars all in a line.
Billy Smith got crushed as he can't get his Corvette around those guys. He was racing, working so hard to get there.
Oh, and 2 prototypes here. This is Ulmer, I think, and who else is in there?
That's it.
And Wilson splits them. Man, wow, what a brave move by Bird as he goes 3 wide in the midst of that traffic to get himself some room, and I'd say that worked a treat.
And that traffic has brought back into Pratt into the mix. Remember I said they dropped him, well now he's there. Now last time I checked, Ulmer was closing on these guys as he must have had more trouble. Oh, he's still coming. He's still coming.
He's still
okay.
in 8th, yeah. He's still in the race, but he's well down the order. Remember, he's one of our 3 contenders in the top 3 in points. This is going to hurt. Gerard and Tinsley, the other 2 that are right now the main championship players, sitting 1-2, Tinsley and Gerard, respectively.
Boy, and Scott McCravey is under attack. They've all found him.
Paul Darling.
Oh, Joe, he got off into that turf you talked about out of Copse.
Just not as much grip out there. Oh, and it was on the limit. Yep. Did he hit the wall? Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did. He nosed it in. And I've heard you on another lap guide talk about that turf out there. It's a tricky balance, isn't it, getting through there?
Need to be oh so careful. Look at the damage on the front of that Mercedes. That is not going to help Paul Darling, who's now slotted down to 4th. That moves Jeffrey Ooms up into a podium position. Again, I feel like every time we talk about Ooms, it's that we weren't paying attention to him, and he's just making that quiet, controlled race up to the front.
Yes, Ooms really on it, Joe. Good observation. He's up 4 spots from the start. He's been working really hard. Takes advantage of Darling's misfortune and now finds himself in that podium spot.
Stephen, when you watch for Paul Darling, I think he's probably in his pit window. I would think that he'd be coming in pretty soon. See if he can get that fast repair.
So as we tick closer and closer to the halfway mark, that'll be 30 minutes for those that can do math. That know that we can't do that here, but
we don't do that at GSRC.
We got our cheat sheet, so that's how I knew that. But Robert Tinsley is your leader right now before we get to the pit stops and the prototypes. Wojciech Sviatovic is our leader in the GT1s, and Benjamin Hackison still your leader in the GT3s. That's been the way since the drop of the green in all 3 classes. That doesn't mean we've lacked action in each of them, that's for sure.
And guys, Paul Darling is coming down pit road and getting that fast repair.
Well, that worked out very well for that Mercedes, as he's going to be able to continue without losing too much, other than what essentially works out to a spin then.
Yeah, and Joe and Sean, this is really Darling's best part of the race, too. He's usually slow in the beginning. I don't think he gets into the practice time he used to. The back half of the race is when he starts to shine, so we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, definitely. He can definitely get it back. All he's lost at this point, without the damage repair, is all he's lost is time. The time that it cost him on track there by getting off track and into the guardrail, and then having to get back, up to speed and into the pit. Looks like Patrick Fleming is in also.
On screen, we're watching the battle for 7th. I was kind of watching this one myself before we propped it up here, because Michael Reedy is behind a very anxious Sheldon Rosenbaum and an even antsier Dave Hill, as they've been just rocking up behind them, looking for a place to get by. Nothing doing right now, as they're still line astern.
Rosenbaum has been having a great season. Maybe the surprise driver of this season.
Certainly has improved. We seem to see that in every season in this series, Bill, where there's just that one driver that maybe is a lower pack or mid pack that suddenly comes to the fore somehow.
Yeah. Simonic, another one that's really competitive now. And I love that fluorescent blue car there of Rosenbaum.
Makes it easy for you,
yeah.
I'm sure. Trying to get the grip off the corner. Oh, I thought he was going to spin, but it's him heading into the pits. Sheldon Rosenbaum decides that right now is a good time not to lose time in the battle. Oh, and Steven, it sounds like you've noticed something happening with Mark Katrowski.
Yeah, his car is beat up pretty bad, but he's out there still trying to run some laps.
We understand there was maybe potentially a black flag, we hear?
Oh, that was with Paul Fleming. I believe he had a black flag. He came in, had a quick stop, almost a stop and go, and was back on the track.
All right, the Itasha Motorsports machine having an unfortunate extra stop, but Alex Simonik, P3 driver in the prototypes, has now come into the pits for his stop. And in fact, let's see how many of our prototypes have stopped at this point. Looks like I'm seeing only 2, and they are at the back of the field.
Let's go to Ulmer real quick here. I got a bad feeling as he's working his way through these guys. I called it! Ulmer got tapped! Oh my goodness, I need to get a 900 number for psychics.
We're going to see here, and that's Ryan Huff. He just went by. He's going to get punted in the back just slightly. Wow, great catch by John in what is a very fast corner. Let's watch it from above so we can see that touch.
Can one punt slightly?
It was a quick kick.
Wow. Nice work. Well, that did, unfortunately, separate Huff from his competitor that he was fighting with, Postma, but I believe, right. Postma went into the pits. Sorry, Bill.
Steven, what we'll want to do, he's coming in. I would imagine that competitor, I think we're going to see probably Huff coming in next time around. Keep an eye on that one.
Will do.
There we see Postma in his stall. Tinsley, in the meantime, is now in for his pit stop. Gerard follows him in. This is going to... Let's see, it looks like Lionel DePratt's next one on course in 3rd, but he is well far behind, so he's not going to inherit the lead for this one. Alex Simonik is our highest pitter in the prototypes. And I don't believe he should be catching Tinsley at least, but can he maybe use this to jump Gerard potentially? Tinsley is out.
I'm seeing Paul Darling's back in the pits. Not sure why, guys. Paul Darling got that car back in the pit in the GT3 class. We saw him get off and have that incident before. Already went in once, and now he's back in.
We're understanding he's had some off tracks just recently. Let me see if I can go back and check to see what happened to Darling.
And guys, here comes Ryan Huff onto pit road.
All right, so one of our GT1 competitors taking his stop.
Now, I think Huff might have an advantage here. If he's able to figure out if saving fuel means anything, he was behind the guy who was trying to get around the entire time.
Well, I have bad news for Paul Darling fans. Those off tracks resulted in contact with the wall, And Sean, it's deja vu all over again. It was coming out of tops. Here, we're going to see it on the replay.
Just having trouble with letting that car get a little too far offline there, just carrying too much speed. Can't reel it in, and he's back nose into the guardrail there. That Armco barrier, never fun.
Let's go to Huff right now. He's coming out of the pits. I'd like to see how he fares here as he's going to get around the guy that he's... But there's Postma right next to him. Oh. And my goodness, he's got to still do it on the track.
He has got to be getting at least a little bit frustrated.
But look at that. Billy Smith has jumped him.
Oh, wow. So in the pit stop, strategy has worked in favor of Billy Smith, moving himself up into what is currently 4th in class. But once pit stops cycle through, I believe this will put him into 3rd.
I think he's in 3rd right now behind Sidordovich and McGarvey.
Exactly. Santana has yet to pit in the GT1s. He's the last driver of the GT1s who needs to come in.
2.5 seconds faster on pit road for Billy Smith over Ryan Huff.
Nice catch there from Stephen Parks, our pit reporter, to explain how Billy Smith had managed to jump 2 cars in one stop. We're used to just seeing one, but he might have to hold on to it pretty hard because Brandon Postma closed up on him on the run to bridge, decided not to take opportunity there.
Jeffrey Ohms is in for his pit stop, comes off that 3rd place spot to bring it in. 20 laps on the car. He brings it in. Benjamin Hackinson and Bradley Haley still 1st and 2nd. Haley still giving chase. Had fallen back over 2 seconds behind. Now he's back under a second. Still on the attack. Long day for Bradley Haley in chase mode.
Been keeping Benjamin Hackinson honest this entire race. 25 minutes left to go. And we've had our GT1 leader now come in, which cycles Kevin Santana now back to, I believe, the 7th position. That'll give the lead back to Swirly with Stephen McGarvey just about 6 seconds behind him, and Billy Smith a further 7 to 8 seconds back behind McGarvey. The good news for Swirly, Bill, is that he needed to kind of stop the rot. He lost his momentum. Yeah. He was on a streak, and then suddenly Stephen McGarvey came to the fore. Well, I'd say he's turned that around if he can hold on to this.
It's going to help a little, although he's got McGarvey right behind him. Not on the track, but in the points at least. About 6.5 seconds for McGarvey to get up there.
Well, John Ulmer had worked his way up to at least 6th in the pit stops, but now that he's come and taken what is his 2nd stop, although I'm seeing actually 4 pit stops on my timing, I'm not sure how accurate that is.
And his struggles do continue. He overshot his pit stop there.
This is going to be a day that the Big Cheese is going to want to forget. The Autobahn West driver is able to continue on. Hopefully that was his last stop for the day. At this point, we're now just waiting on our GT3 drivers, known for going a little bit longer, Sean, than the other classes, to come in and complete their stops.
Yes, sir. Now, about half the field has done that. Robert Jackman, the latest of them. Jackman is in. I just noticed a lot of Canadians in this field tonight. It's a good thing. We love our friends to the north.
Canadian invasion.
Yes, sir. Jackman is in. Everybody else still waiting. Hackinson and Haley are still tooth and nail up at the front of this GTE field. Christopher Sherburne, I just saw pull off the track there, guys. But yeah, this race has been all about Hackinson and Haley right now. They are the class of the field there.
Let's go to Gerard real quick. He just got into the back of Brandon Postma.
We're going to see if we can find a replay here. He was coming up on the back of Ryan Huff, managed to get around him. We'll see on the replay.
Got around Huff.
Let's see, did he try and... What happened here?
Boink.
Maybe just did not anticipate him slowing, and behind him, Ryan Huff also spun on his own. So he was probably thinking he was going to lose time to Postma, only to find that Postma wasn't that far up the road.
And wait, Billy Smith is in the wall.
Oh, no.
And that, I think it was Kinsey. No, it was Gerard. I'm sorry, it was Gerard goes off track, and bangs Billy Smith into the wall. Stay
And
with it.
This is an extremely hard hit. You're going to see this is coming through Abbey. This is no small wallop. Oh, wow. Did I just see Gerard get air in an
He did.
HPD? I didn't know you could do that in those cars. We're going to ride on board with Smith to the inside suddenly. Whoop.
And Steven, what do you know about Gerard?
Haven't seen exactly. Sorry about that. I was watching to see when the leader of the GT3 class was coming in.
Looks like I'm seeing. Is he in? Looks like he's come in.
Yeah, he's apologized over the chat. I think he's done for the day. Yeah, he's exited out of the car.
Yeah.
Gerard is elected to leave the race voluntarily. And there you can see Billy Smith, the damage done to him.
I have a little information on it if you want to hear it. I know in practice that Jason was not intending to run this race, and they kind of talked him into it. By the way, our leaders in the GT3 class are now in the pits. Hackison and Bradley Haley follows him right in. Here is your battle in the GT3 class, and Haley pulls in right behind him. They're pitted right next to each other. Let's see who can win the race out. That might be the winner of this race.
Was he close enough to save fuel? Do you think, Sean? Was he that close enough
I
behind
think
him?
so. He may be able to take just a little bit less. Ooh, no, not at all. Hackison gets away first and gets away big time. Haley still sitting in the box. Now he's away finally. Oh boy, that's tough. I don't think he's gonna recover from that as long as Hackison can continue to do the job he's done. Armando Edwards is now your leader in the GT3 class, but he has not taken a pit stop. He is the last one on track, the New Jersey driver, trying to outsmart everyone. He gets out, almost 5 seconds in front of Hackison. So Edwards with a great pit stop. Who knows? We might have a race here in the GT3 class before it's all said and done with. Only about 20 minutes left now, guys.
Joe, I got to go back just because I don't want the GT1 guys to come back and yell at me after the race. When you think about what Gerard just did, there was that battle between Billy Smith, Postma, and Ryan Huff, Brandon Postma. He managed in one way or the other to affect all three of them. He bumped Postma, which scared Huff. They both spun, and then for good measure, he got Billy Smith into the wall as well. Not a good day for Gerard.
I'm not sure that that's really the evening out that they were wanting between them, but
misery loves company. If I could,
true.
could document a little bit, they're a little easier.
And we're trying to get Armando Edwards to come in so we can go through the order. Let's see if he comes in this time. The leader of the GT3s, last car out there to make his official stop. Looks like he's coming in. There he goes. All right, Armando.
Sheesh.
Thank you very much. That allows us to finally update you on each of the classes' top 5 rundown. Robert Tinsey still leading the way, but instead of it being Gerard behind him now, Alex Simonik. Boy, Bill, you talked about him potentially being a winner today. One more drama could send him up into first. It all depends. Dino Topic gets slotted up into third with Gerard now backing out of the race. And then Ryan Bird, a run that we haven't really paid much attention to, but a 4th place for the 888 is nothing to scoff at. Lionel DePratt rounding out the top 5 in the prototypes.
Well, it was once a great battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and the GT1s are kind of broken up. Of course, we have Wojciech Sidorovich up in front, about 7 seconds ahead of Stephen McGarvey. Those guys feel pretty comfortable. McGarvey has an 11-second lead over Brandon Postma, who had his little issue there with Gerard, but he came out the best of the guys he was racing with. Ryan Huff is back about 4 seconds behind Postma. And then, with Billy Smith out of the picture, having a top 5 for Leif Peterson. Haven't talked about much from him. He's got about a 20-second lead on the next competition. So there's your top 5. Sean, what's going on now that all the pit stops are out of the way in GT3?
Let's talk about that. Benjamin Hackison is still your leader, has been since the green flag drop. Bradley Haley still giving chase, not giving up the ghost yet. He is almost 3 seconds back, and I gotta be honest, he's fallen a little bit. He'll get a chance to fight here. We still got time. Jeffrey Ohms, now he has lost a lot of time. Back 22 seconds from our leader, Benjamin Hackison. He was fighting up there, might have had an outside chance at a top 2. Right now, though, holding on to that podium position very, very well for Jeffrey Ohms. Armando Edwards, after that pit stop, is going to cycle out in 4th. And right now, that position is under threat from Robert Jackman, who is back there in 5th. And Jackman here with a good run has got a chance to maybe get that spot away from Edwards.
On screen, we just saw Ulmer, and I was about to give an update on him. Oh, and he lost it already. He was in 5th position. He had replaced Lando Duprat because Duprat had done almost the same thing in this very corner, Luffield, where Duprat had half spun, gone into the grass, and Ulmer took advantage and sliced on through to 5th, but now he's handed it back to him. I was going to say, Bill, we need to stop calling him the big cheese and maybe call him Never Say Die Ulmer, because he's trying to get in the top 5.
He really does try to fight back.
He's going to get a chance here because Duprat had a bad run coming out of Copse, slides around the outside down into the Maggots and Beckett sequence and give 5th back to Ulmer once again.
For now.
Have some confidence in the man.
I have confidence. I am very confident something's going to happen to him.
Oh, boy. Talk to Bill, not to me, John. Just saying. So, as the race continues on, now 16 minutes left to go. We're just about into the final quarter of this thing. Now, Buafia, remember, he had to start from pit lane. Let's see where he is. 9th currently in his class, has not made great inroads, but this is a battle for position with Sock Rider side by side through the Abbey. Kink almost going out into the grass for Buafia. Sneaks to the inside, down through Bridge, and I think that's going to give him the spot. Right on board Sock Rider there. Following behind Caradine Buafia, who showed a very strong showing in the first couple rounds.
Yeah. Really surprised when he showed up. It's like, this guy has something, but haven't seen that from him since he's been around for a while. Of course, having to start from the pits probably not helping.
And working through GT3 traffic. Certainly has made it difficult. He's going to get lapped by John Ulmer here, who's coming on through. No dramas this time for the Big Cheese.
Big names that are out, Laura Costa. And also we have Paul Darling at trouble, Billy Smith out of the race.
Well, I feel like I put the commentator's jinx on poor Costa, man. Here I show up for a guest appearance this evening and pick him to win the race, and what happens? He's out of this race. So, send your emails to me, Laura, okay?
Well, the driver that is thanking you is Bradley Haley. He's second in the championship. This is going to help him, but Haley is going to want to maximize points. He's still 3 seconds back from Hackison, who's still set to win this thing if he can hold on.
Yeah, and you know what? Haley, boy, he hasn't been right since he came out from that pit stop. I wonder if there's some frustration there about missing the mark on that stop, Joe, and being about 2.5, 3 seconds he lost there in the pit stop. I mean, he was fighting for that position. He now finds himself 3.5 seconds back.
Yeah, and guys, I will let you know there was a 2-second split between those two on pit road.
Which makes you wonder.
Yeah. Did Hackison put in enough fuel?
With Bill's favorite line, as we watch Hackison try to put a lap on the car of Jim McInnes. He's not being terribly helpful about it. Now he's holding off to the side, going to let our leader through. There's the polite move, bear claw for McInnes.
Again, McInnes, one of those drivers trying to score points for his team. Well down the running order right now, running about, what was he running about, 13th?
Well, remember, he was involved in the drama with, we got a 3-wide situation.
In the grass, the pass in the grass.
Ryan Bird, like you said, cutting through the green stuff to get by the 2-wide GT3 cars.
Well, Bird's got 13-second lead on Ulmer, but Ulmer's a big name. 13 seconds with 13 minutes to race. You got to feel he's pretty safe, but he's got places to go. Nice run from him in fourth today.
What I was about to say is, remember, Jim McInnes was involved in the drama with Lauro Costa on the front stretch. He spun and ran into him, took away the second fast repair from Costa. And if you think these guys aren't competitive. The drivers have even been talking to Costa on the forums, trying to convince them to race in something other than GT3 to give them a chance. Watch our leader, Tinsley. It's been... I fear saying this because I don't want to put the commentator's curse on him, but this has been a relatively uneventful race for Tinsley.
Got out front early.
Boy.
Yeah.
I can't believe he just issued that line.
Well,
with,
Simona could be happy I said that.
about 8.5 laps left.
Let's give some credit to Dino Topic. You know, we really haven't put the cameras on him. I know he's had a few close calls. I've seen him here and there trying to work his way through traffic. Nothing really involved with his own class. But the 000 is on the podium this race, and he's not been happy with how his season's been going so far. He's been upset with himself for some mistakes that he's made. He felt like there have been times that traffic really hasn't helped him out as he's had dramas with other cars. But right now, he's set to get this third place pretty solidly.
Yeah, I wish I had my points with me here. I don't think he has a podium this season.
Let me see if...
third place. Do you have that, Joe? I'll go ahead, take a look at that. As we look at Dino going through, just got around Michael Reedy. Now we're going to go over to P6. Look at Boafia. And you just made that pass. Boafia just got around Kevin Santana. Move him up a spot. Haley having some issues out there.
Yeah.
Sean, what was he talking about?
Soup, I wasn't on him. I'm trying to find it now, see exactly what happened. I'll get back to you on it here in a second.
Well,
Oh, he got touched. He got tagged by Duprat.
Yeah, well, Duprat apologized
Not
just
long,
back
yeah.
here a couple of turns ago.
it's maybe about 40 or 50 seconds ago, I'm seeing. As they come through the technical final section, there's our second place driver. There's Duprat. That's the HBD behind him. It's going to be through Luffield, I believe. There it is.
That'll get you talking, Sean.
Indeed, yeah. Yeah, but again, he came back on and he apologized for that, but that was a close one. Haley didn't need it. I mean, he's still fighting, but now he's 4.5 seconds back, and boy, we're running out of time here. 10 minutes to go. A win is really what he needed, and unless Haxon makes a big mistake, he's going to fall short.
My dad used to say apologies are like dandelions. They grow fast, they're pretty to look at, but they're really not very substantial.
Dad has a saying for everything.
Yes.
Joe,
I've often said it. He was a very wise man.
What'd you find out about Dino?
Well, Dino's highest official finish, is a 6th place. I don't remember where he finished at Le Mans. I know he had a few dramas, and we didn't have that entered on our scoring sheet, unfortunately. I think he actually may have finished on the podium at Le Mans with all the drivers around him having trouble. But with that one on a point-scoring position, I have to imagine he'll take this one as one worth celebrating.
Finish ahead of Ulmer and Gerard.
Gerard, absolutely. Boys, we ride on board with Dino. Our onboard view of Duprat, one thing that I noticed with him coming in contact with second place in the GT3s, it almost felt very rude as, whoa, Duprat going a little bit off track. Just, it was very, excuse me, barging through, and then he was off like a shot. Meanwhile, David Sockrider has closed up on the back of Kevin Santana in the GT1s. This is for the 7th position. What's happened to Bird, though? We're hearing, whoa.
Self-spin.
Gonna get a replay here. This is coming out of Brooklands into Luffield. Maybe just got tires on the grass, it looks like.
And if you stay on it, Ulmer gets right up on him. Did Ulmer make the pass? Not yet, but here he comes.
Bill, I'm going to sympathize with you just a little bit on this one. I think we should petition for Ulmer and Bird to sort out paint schemes a little bit more clearly here.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too.
They got a car between them right now. That's Patrick Fleming. Oh, no!
And there you go. I had confidence, and there it
boy.
is. That's got to be a slowdown penalty, I would think.
was an eager move from John Ulmer, and even Fleming was getting on the radio with a few complaints, being extremely unhappy about that attempt.
That's not going to cost him a spot, though. I think he's going to hang on to 5th.
Yeah, should be okay. Now 7 minutes left on the clock. Although Fleming might be damaged, his car was looking very slow going through Vale. And even Sloan, you know what?
Yeah. Hard to imagine that a prototype could get into that car.
He's parking it. He
Yep.
is parking it. Patrick Fleming.
Oh boy.
Well, now he's not. Now he's rolling again.
That car, it does not look healthy. I'm fairly certain that he's got some serious damage. I wonder if he's getting the meatball. That has got to be extremely frustrating with only 6 minutes left on the clock, knowing you're so close to the checkered flag with the result that you've got in your hands. Have we seen Fleming come in for his free repair yet? That's what I want to know.
Yes, he did take his free repair earlier.
But he elects to stay out, interestingly.
Maybe waiting for Ulmer to come around.
Well, let's hope not. Well,
Hey, guys.
My thought is, real quick, Sean, I wonder, maybe he's running slow laps. If he does have a meatball flag, maybe he's trying to get to the finish without being disqualified here. Run fewer laps and not have to come in.
At the speed he's going, he's on the white flag lap right now with 6 minutes to go.
I don't know. Crazy theory.
We've got a couple of Ford GTs in a battle back here. We've got Scott McGarvey, Dave Hill. That is one of the closest position battles here in the GT3 class. Just up ahead of them, Armando Edwards and Jackman. That's about a second apart, but these two right up on each other. Like I said, a couple of Ford GTs fighting.
Right on board with Hill in 7th position, Scott McGarvey. If you recognize that name, yes, he is related to Stephen McGarvey. We believe they are brothers.
Could be married.
Could be. They could be. As he's trying to work his way into that 6th position. Not quite able to get a top 5. Oh no, and Ryan Bird just disappeared. Ryan Bird just hit the incident limit.
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
he's been pretty wild out here.
Bink.
There he goes. Did you get a picture of that one, Sean?
I tried. I tried. Wow, that'll never. Boy, I'm gonna let that one out.
For those nuts, Sean wants a still picture of somebody blinking out. We're not sure how that is possible.
But could have gotten a screenshot of the dust.
We've jumped up to our leader, Robert Tinsey. But what I want to talk about is I was watching that because Ulmer was only 2 seconds behind, and he was gaining on Bird, but that's sort of a moot point now.
Well, that does mean Ulmer picks up a spot, and that's going to move Lionel Duprat into a top 5.
Which I'm sure Lionel Duprat is feeling grateful for, considering the dramas he's had throughout this race. There we see our leader in the GT1s, and now switching over to our leader in the GT3s. All 3 of our class leaders have been up at the front since the green fell today. Been a dominant performance for each of them. Seeing a close battle in the GT1s for 17th overall. Matthew Epstein behind Paul Lindsay. We saw Epstein a little bit earlier in this race, but haven't really checked in on him for quite a while. Oh, and they're gonna. Oh, who is this trying to go up around the outside? Is that Simonic? Wow! Chops off the nose of Matthew Epstein. Tried to stick his hand in the cookie jar and was denied. Oh, but he looks up the inside, down into Priory. Can he make this one stick? Little bit of contact between the cars. They both come away from it, and that's going to give Matthew Epstein 9th position.
Paul Lindsay locking him up there.
Let's watch on board Epstein. Going to jump back just a little bit farther. It was just after he got cut off. I guess maybe that put the red mist down, because here as he comes through bridge, he sees an advantage to be taken, slides that in there, just the slightest of contact to the right rear, and comes away grinning. Hearing some chatter on the radio. I don't know if either of you caught what was being discussed.
Between Simonik and Topic. They're not even close to each other on the track. Maybe Simonik was warning Topic about what's in front of him.
Be an interesting strategy if that's the case. They're not teammates. We know that.
Oh.
Two minutes left on the clock, with our HPD drivers running about a minute 25, minute 26 laps. Tinsley's coming across the line. We have 2 laps to go.
Boy, Hackison was faster about that fuel. If he's saving fuel, he's not showing it, John. He's really opening it up now.
He really has. I don't think he's saving fuel at all. I just think it was a better pit stop. Not sure exactly what happened with Haley there, but frustration or pace, one or the other is at play here, because Haley has been frustrated since he got out of the pit stop. Hackison has had the pace and continues to have it, and has now put Haley down 8.5 seconds.
And it sounds like our pit reporter not just watching the pits, but also monitoring the radio. Steven, what'd you hear about that conversation going on between the drivers?
It looked like Simonik was trying to make the pass on Hackison, and they kind of got caught up in the corner, and that's what that little bit of radio communication was.
Meanwhile, Bill, take a look at Jeffrey Ooms right now.
How about this kid, huh? I'm assuming he's a kid because he's new. I always think guys who are new to the series are youngsters. Could be a grandfather for all I know. But how about a third place finish in the GT3s? Hello.
The Canadian driver doing the Canadian thing, just being polite and quiet and getting onto the podium. He only has to hold on for about a minute longer. 30 seconds left on the clock. Whoa, Tinsley's got a bit of a problem in front of him. That's the car of Dave Hill. He actually brakes to make sure he doesn't spin into him. Now he goes by. It is never over in this series. You think you got it locked up.
Dave Hill, another Canadian driver. And I just watched some South Park, so if I learned anything, it's blame Canada.
Well, Tinsley would have had the opportunity to if it had gone wrong there. One more lap to go. White flag is out as the clock hits 0 here at Silverstone for the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. Thanks for joining us here on the Global Sim Racing channel. If you just tuned in, you're catching the end of yet another dominant race, a typical performance, what we're used to seeing for Robert Tinsley. He hasn't had a lot of them this season. It tends to be what we saw of him from seasons past, a multiple-time champion in the prototypes here in this series. As Bob the Blade, halfway through this lap now, coming around club. He's got nobody around him. In fact, I don't think he's even going to catch Robert Jackman up ahead. As he works his way up to bridge, through the fast right-hand kink, getting on the binders, down for Priory. It's clear sailing from here. Down through Brooklands he goes. He could even slow up. He doesn't have to pass Robert Jackman at this point. Around the 180-degree bend of Luffield, only Woodcote to go. For Robert Tinsley, Talon Motorsports gets full points from the HPDs once again. He wins today here at Silverstone. Our next one up, I believe, is going to be GT3.
Benjamin Hackison. He is now Abbey down to Farm Straight. Into bridge. Here we go. He's under the bridge, setting up here for the last section of turns. He dropped the hammer when the green flag dropped, and he has held on to that spot ever since we got started. Kind of made it a little easy, look a little easy here today as he makes it through Brooklands one last time. Your winner in the GT3 class today. Been a nice ride here on a Monday evening for Benjamin Hackison. Big win for him. Good points. Bradley Haley gonna have to settle for second. Win could have been his, but a slow pit stop and couple of errors late on track will get him to second. Jeffrey Ooms with the drive of the race, guys. He's now still not made it through.
Meanwhile, our GT1 leader's just coming out of Luffield through Woodcote. He goes. Wojciech Sviatovic takes the win and brings his championship hunt back on course. That's going to give second place in the GT1s to Stephen McGarvey, who is second in the championship. So that is going to hurt his hopes for retaining his crown. Brandon Postma is going to get third place in that class. With that, we are going to go to break real quick. We'll be back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, we're going to have all the upcoming races here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Welcome back to Silverstone. We just saw round 10 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge here on the Global Sim Racing channel. It was a pretty exciting race, lots of action throughout. It was pretty dispersed, but in the end, Robert Tinsey didn't see much of it because he was up at the front the whole time and he took home the win from the pole. Alex Simonik, we keep saying he's due a win eventually, but it's not going to be today. He did get a second place, 11 seconds behind Tinsey, and Dino Topic with a well-earned podium after what has not been the best of seasons. I'm sure that's welcome to him. John Ulmer, I think the less said about this race, the better for him. 4th place for John. Lionel Duprat comes home in the top 5 with Mark Wilson coming home in 6th. And then rounding out the HPDs that finished, boy, thin field today for them at the end, is Sean Reese in 7th, Bill.
Then your winner in the GT1, so there's Wojciech Swiatowicz. Stephen McGarvey follows him behind. Now, those two guys really didn't have much of a battle going on once Swiatowicz got away from McGarvey. The real action was back behind him. Brandon Postma, Ryan Huff, and also Billy Smith was in the mix. Smith got the worst of it. He's going to finish well out of the money. Brandon Postma gets 3rd. Ryan Huff gets 4th. Leif Peterson sneaks up into 5th position in his Corvette. Caradine Boafia, very fast, has a start from the pits. He's going to finish 6th in class. David Sockrider, Matthew Epstein, Kevin Santana, Paul Lindsay, and then rounding out the guys who finished anywhere near the front was Matt Owen. Sean, who do you got in the GT3s?
Well, the big winner, Benjamin Hackison. We talked about how he just jumped the field there on the start and never looked back. Brad Haley gave great chase. He'll finish 2nd. Jeffrey Ooms with a great drive, finishing 3rd. Armando Edwards holds on for 4th. Robert Jackman, 5th. Steve McGarvey going to be 6th tonight. Dave Hill, 7th. Sheldon Rosenbaum, 8th. Michael Reedy, 9th. Patrick Fleming, 10th. Tough night for Patrick Fleming. Jim McInnes, 11th. Christopher Sherburne, 12th. Robert Sklenka, 13th in class. Mark Kedrowski, 14th. Paul Darling, the hard luck driver of the night, gonna finish 15th. David Tejada, 16th. And Laurel Costa, 17th. Maybe he was the hard luck driver of the night because I picked him, and boy, apologies. And nothing but happy thoughts out to Laurel Costa this evening, guys.
I'm actually going back to check to see if Paul Darling did finish the race, and I think he might not have, judging by my replay at this point. Yeah, it looks like he did not finish this race. Unfortunate to see, but we're going to talk to some of our winners today. First up, let's have Bill talk to our winner in the prototypes. That's Robert Tinsey, who's looking like he's back to his old form.
Robert, whenever there's lap traffic involved, it's never really easy, but this one did seem to go pretty well, at least wire to wire for you. Didn't see any of your competition behind you much.
Yeah, I just got lucky on that one, I think. Not many. I don't think anybody got any real practice in for this one with the 24-hour race, so we all just kind of joined in for the server and just brought whatever setups we could find. So I just tried to keep it clean.
It's been a while since the new build, but at least you have that under. Do you have any feel for how the car's feeling?
It doesn't really feel much different. I would like to see the low downforce be able to be used on other tracks again like it used to be. Just because that was my specialty. I was always never really great at the medium downforce. So, but yeah, not too much of a difference as of yet. I think it's a little bit more doable now, but we'll have to see.
Okay, well, you pick up a little bit on Ulmer. You're only 4 from Gerard, who really had a bad day today. Of course, there's drop races that come in. You had some cushion in that. You got a chance at the championship, man.
Yeah, I think a bunch of us do. It's a really tight one, and it's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying the season. And yeah, how about Alex's pace? Alex looked really good.
Absolutely, we talked about that during the race. That I think it could really be a 4-car, and then if you get who's a Benjamin, the other driver that's in here, I forget the name, slips me, that races with us.
Daniel,
yeah, right, Benefield. Get him in there. You got 5 guys that could win a race now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was very impressed. For the first 10 laps, I was just not seeing the gap going up, so I was getting a little nervous.
Hey, well, congratulations! A slow start to the season is starting to come around for you. Congratulations on another win. Good luck the rest of the way.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Robert Bob the Blade Tinsey.
All right. Let's go ahead and talk to Ben Hackison, our winner in the GT3 class. Ben, congratulations! You got a great start, and I said it once, I'll say it again. You never really looked back, did you?
That was a lot more stressful than it probably looked, to be honest.
Yeah, when those HPDs are coming through, that seemed like a lot of work tonight, and it really hurt you on speed. Obviously, Haley was always able to get right up on you every time the traffic came through.
Yeah, it's a little bit of rust on my part. I haven't done multi-class for about 2 months or something, and I didn't get any practice in the actual session, so I didn't get any practice for this particular track, which is always really useful to do.
You know, it's funny. We talked about that during the race, and practice, they say it makes perfect. It really makes permanent in one's memory when you've got time to get ready for those races. But I'm going to assume that, you know, life happens, and you don't always get the time you need to get ready for these things.
It's far too fun driving the Ferrari at the moment.
How did you do at Le Mans this weekend?
Unfortunately, I put it in the wall after 40 minutes, but we carried on.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Hey, you kept it off the wall tonight. You get a big victory. Congratulations. What are your plans going forward here in the series?
I'm just trying to look at the standings now. I don't know how far I am behind because I've missed a few rounds, so I don't think I've got any chance of winning, but let's see what I can do. Either that or I might starting at the back and having some fun.
Well, hey, again, congratulations to you. We'll let you get on with your evening. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right, and that was Ben Hackison, our big winner this evening. I believe Joe has caught up with Dino.
Actually, we've got Wojciech Sviatovic up next, our winner in the GT1s, who has been a little bit south of that first place for a few races, but he's finally back up on top. Wojciech, are you feeling a little bit more confident about getting the championship after that win?
Yeah, definitely much closer now, especially after the Le Mans was cancelled. If the Le Mans wasn't cancelled, I would be definitely out of contention, actually. I didn't realize it's a double points race. I gave up halfway down before even all the disconnections. So, yeah, and after this, looks like I'm in a good position to try to win the championship.
Looking at the rest of the schedule coming up this season, do you feel strongly about those tracks? You've got Spa, Phillip Island, Suzuka, and Twin Ring. Would you consider those good tracks for you, or are those ones where you really need to buckle down for?
No, all of them would be kind of a high downforce track, so definitely something I like. And yeah, I feel good on all of those tracks.
McGarvey was holding on at the start of the race, and then it seemed like he dropped back. Were you holding back a little on pace, or do you think that maybe Stephen just wasn't able to keep up the pace that you were running at the start?
I think he struggled. He definitely put a very, very good lap in qualifying, but I could tell in practice he was struggling. He couldn't come up with a setup that would match mine, and I'm quite confident that this race was down to the setup of the car rather than the skill or a track, and that was pretty much the main reason.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you next round at Spa, and again, congratulations on the win.
Thanks very much, and see you next week. Or, sorry, in 2 weeks' time.
2 weeks. I almost made the same mistake. So that is Wojciech Sviatovic, winner in the GT1s. And tell you what, I think I'll give the honors to Bill here to talk to our third place driver in the prototypes, because I'm sure Dino is in a very good mood and would be happy to talk to Soup.
Go ahead and we'll talk to Dino. The quiet Canadian, Dino, your best finish this season, third place. Congratulations.
Yay, popcorn.
How always a lot of lap traffic out there and back markers. It looked like a pretty smooth race for you.
Definitely. It was very close to being end on lap 1. We went 3 wide into Vegas Beckett's and just backed out of that. But then forgot what that corner is after the long straight and then the right-hander. Mark was on my inside.
Yeah.
Like he had his nose stuck in, and I went a little bit too far right. I was like, no. So I backed out of that, and from then on it was pretty smooth sailing, a little bit of attrition. Traffic was nuts. The speed differential in those corners is crazy.
Hey, if you don't remember, that's fine. But there was one part of the race near the end. It looked like you and Alex Simonik had some type of conversation. Alex said something, and then you came back and said, okay. Do you remember what that was about?
Oh, I think it was between me, Bradley, and then Alex just kind of jumped in. Yeah, like I said, the speed difference in Magus Beckett's especially. So there's a GT1, there's Bradley and the GT1 behind him. So I went around the GT1 and I really came up on Bradley's bumper, and he thought I was gonna go, so he kind of jumped off the line, and I was just apologizing.
Got it.
And then Alex kind of wanted to shut us up.
Oh, that's
But
what
yeah,
it was.
no,
Okay.
it's fine. Nothing.
Don't stay off the microphone now, Dino. You're the quiet Canadian. All right. Hey, congratulations, third place. And look at this, third place, and you finished ahead of Ulmer and Gerard. Yeah, that's an accomplishment.
Definitely, yes. I'm excited. Everybody knows, is tired of hearing I graduated today, so I may or may not have been.
Good.
Yeah, so I may or may not have been speeding on the highway. I got in. I said one lap in the quali, and that was it.
We'll let you out of here on this. Graduated from the airplane repair. Is that? I mean, whatever that is called.
Yeah, aircraft maintenance
Aircraft
program.
maintenance. Congratulations. Well,
Thanks.
Keep us safe while we're up in the air, okay, man?
Thanks, guys, and great broadcast.
Dino Topic, a graduate of aircraft repair. That's good to have those kind of guys working.
Unfortunately, we don't have a copy of Pomp and Circumstance to play during the closing, but we are going to close up for today. Of course, a big thank you to the Autobahn Motorcar Group for being the official sponsor here of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. Thanks to John Ulmer for organizing this series, all the hard work he puts in behind the scenes, and thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see those listed on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who also provide music for our broadcast. Their contacts can be found listed there for where to find their music. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie, if you'd like to find out more about GSRC, and Stephen as well. Big thanks to Stephen Parks for being our pit reporter today. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can find us on social media on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. Next race is going to be at Spa, heading over for the European leg. Well, we're on the European leg, the final part of the European leg now, on Monday, June 26 at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.